He woke up inside a cage made of glowing metal. The bars were thicker than tree trunks. Above him was a ceiling so high he could not see the end of it. The air felt heavy, warm, and strange. Evan slowly stood up, his body weak, but his mind sharp. He already knew where he was. This was not Earth. This was the planet of giants. The ground began to shake. Each step sounded like thunder. Evan did not panic. He had heard those steps for years. He looked up as a shadow covered the cage. A giant woman stood there. She was taller than a building. Her skin was pale blue, her eyes bright like fire. To her, Evan was smaller than a toy. She looked at him with no emotion, the same way a human looks at an insect. "Move," she said in her deep voice. Evan moved. 7 years ago, Evan was a space engineer. His ship had failed during a long mission. A strange signal pulled him off course. Then everything went dark. When he woke up, he was here. On this planet, humans were rare, and rare things became slaves. The giants were strong. They could lift mountains and crush steel with their hands. But they were slow thinkers. They believed size meant power. To them, small beings were weak beings. Evan learned quickly that strength meant nothing in this place. Survival did. Every day, he worked inside massive factories. The machines were huge and loud. One mistake could kill him. Many humans had already died that way. But Evan stayed alive. He watched. He listened. He learned. The giants spoke near him, thinking he could not understand. But Evan listened every day. Word by word, sound by sound, he learned their language. They never noticed. To them, he was just another slave. One day, a massive machine stopped working. The giants gathered around it. They tried everything. They hit it. They shouted at it. They followed rules written long ago. Nothing worked. The factory began to overheat. Red lights flashed everywhere. If the machine exploded, the entire area would be destroyed. Evan saw the problem immediately. A simple error. A blocked energy line. He hesitated. Slaves were not allowed to touch machines without orders. Slaves who broke rules did not live long. But if the machine exploded, he would die anyway. Evan climbed onto the control platform. His hands shook as he pulled a small lever hidden behind panel. The machine slowed. The heat dropped. The lights turned green. Silence filled the factory. The giants turned toward him. For the first time in 7 years, they looked surprised. One of them spoke loudly. The human fixed it. Evan stepped back, ready to be punished. Instead, the ground shook again. Someone else had arrived. The High Matron. She was the ruler of the city, taller than all the others. Her presence alone made the giants lower their heads. She walked slowly toward Evan, her eyes locked on him. She crouched down, bringing her massive face close to the cage. "You," she said. "You touched our machine." Evan said nothing. He kept his head low. "You understood it," she continued. "Ow!" Evan swallowed. This was dangerous, but this was also his first chance. "I observed," he said in simple words. "I learned." The giants around her murmured. Humans were not supposed to learn. The High Matron stared at him for a long moment. "You have been a slave for many cycles," she said. "Yes," Evan replied. "Do you want freedom?" The word hit him like a weapon. Freedom. His heart raced. He had dreamed of that word every night, but he knew nothing came free on this planet. "Yes," he said carefully. The High Matron smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Then you will earn it," she said. "We have a problem. One that even we cannot solve." She stood up, her shadow covering Evan completely. "If you fail," she continued, "you return to the cage. Forever." The giants began to laugh softly. Evan closed his eyes for a moment. This was it. His chance. Or his end. The High Matron turned away and gave one final order. "Prepare the human," she said. "Tomorrow, he works for his freedom." Evan looked at the glowing bars of the cage. For the first time in 7 years, they did not feel like the end. They felt like the beginning. The next day, Evan was taken out of the cage. This alone felt unreal. 2 giant guards lifted the floor of the cage and placed him on a wide metal platform. Chains were wrapped around his waist, not because he could escape, but because rules demanded it. Evan did not resist. He stayed calm. Fear wasted energy, and energy was survival. The platform moved through the city. Buildings rose like mountains around him. Giant women walked past, barely noticing him. To them, he was still a thing, not a person. But Evan felt something different in the air. Attention! They brought him to the council hall. It was massive. The ceiling looked like the sky. At the center sat the High Matron, surrounded by 12 other rulers. Each one was powerful. Each one had the power to end him with a single word. Evan stood alone on the floor, far below them. The High Matron spoke first. "You fixed a machine our engineers could not," she said. "Explain." Evan took a breath. He used simple words, clear words. "The system is old," he said. "The energy path was blocked. You followed rules. I followed logic." The giants whispered among themselves. One council member leaned forward. "Humans are weak. How could a weak mind solve what we could not?" Evan looked up. "Strength is not thinking," he said. "Thinking is thinking." The hall went silent. The High Matron raised one hand. "Enough. We did not bring him here for pride." She looked down at Evan. "You want freedom. This is the price." A large screen lit up behind her. The image showed a massive structure deep underground. Cracks ran through it. Energy flashed wildly inside. "Our core engine is failing," she said. "It powers our cities, our weapons, our shields." Another ruler spoke. "We have lost many trying to fix it." Evan's heart tightened. Lost many. That meant death. If the core collapses, the High Matron continued, this city will fall. Millions will die. Evan understood now. This was not a reward. This was a risk they did not want to take themselves. "You want me to fix it?" Evan said. "Yes," she replied. "And if I succeed?" Evan asked. "You will be free," she said. "You may leave this planet." The word echoed in his mind. Leave. But, she added calmly, if you fail, you return to slavery, and your kind will never be offered freedom again. Evan felt the weight of that sentence. This was bigger than him now. He nodded slowly. "I will try." The giants took him deep underground. The air grew hot. The walls shook. The core engine was louder than thunder. Energy sparks filled the chamber. Even the giants kept their distance. Evan was placed on a narrow platform near the core. "This is as close as we go," one guard said. Evan looked at the machine. It was powerful, advanced, but badly designed. Too rigid. No flexibility. No backup logic. Human systems always plan for failure. This system did not. Evan began to work. Hours passed. He crawled through tight spaces meant for no living being. He rerouted energy flows. He shut down unstable loops. His hands burned. His body shook from exhaustion. Above him, the giants watched. Some were nervous. Some were angry. One whispered, "He is too calm." Suddenly, the engine surged. Alarm screamed. The platform shook violently. Evan froze. This was not part of the system failure. This was intentional. He checked the data again. And then he saw it. The truth. The engine was never meant to last. The rulers had built it knowing it would fail. They planned to abandon the lower city when it collapsed. The slaves. The workers. All disposable. Evan clenched his fists. This was not just a repair. This was a lie. A test. And if he fixed it, they would do this again. Evan looked up toward the watching giants. For the first time, he did not feel small. He felt dangerous. He made a choice. One that would change everything. The core stabilized. The alarm stopped. The giants cheered. But Evan's face was dark. Because now he knew something they never wanted a slave to know. And they had no idea what he would do with that knowledge. The core engine stayed stable. For the first time in many cycles, the underground chamber was silent. No alarms. No striking walls. The giants slowly stepped forward, their massive eyes fixed on the glowing machine. Evan sat on the platform, breathing hard. His hands were burnt. His body was weak, but his mind was clear. He had done it. The High Matron looked down at him. "You succeeded," she said. The words sounded heavy. Not proud. Not happy. Careful. Evan stood up slowly. He did not bow. He did not smile. "Yes," he said. "For now." The giants frowned. "For now?" One council member asked. Evan pointed at the engine. "It will fail again." A deep silence spread through the chamber. "You lie," another giant said angrily. "The system is stable. It is stable because I forced it to be," Evan replied calmly. "But it was designed to break." The High Matron stepped closer. Explain. Evan took a breath. This was dangerous, but truth was his weapon now. The core has no safety path, he said. No adaptive logic. When stress increases, it destroys itself. This is not an accident. This is a choice. The giants began to whisper. You plan to abandon the lower city, Evan continued. You knew it would fail. You accepted the loss. The High Matron's eyes narrowed. Be careful, human, she warned. Evan looked up at her. I'm being careful, he said. You brought a slave to solve a problem you did not want to face. The chamber shook, not from machines but from anger. One giant guard stepped forward. Silence him. The High Matron raised her hand. No, she said. Let him speak. Evan continued. You are strong, but you do not adapt. Humans adaptado. When systems fail, we change them. We do not throw people away. Some of the giants shifted uncomfortably. Others looked angry. You think your kind is better? A council member asked. No, Evan said. Just different. The High Matron studied him. You are asking for more than freedom, she said. Evan nodded. Yes. He took a small device from his pocket, something he had built from scraps over the years. I've already changed the core, he said. It will now shut down safely instead of collapsing. The giants froze. You altered our engine without permission, one shouted. Yes, Evan replied. Because permission costs lives. The High Matron's voice dropped. If we destroy you now, the system fails. Yes, Evan said. And if you keep me alive, it works. This was the human advantage. Not strength. Leverage. Silence returned. Finally, the High Matron spoke. What do you want? Evan did not hesitate. All human slaves freed, he said. Not just me. A shock ran through the council. That is impossible, one said. You are one human, another added. You do not decide this. Evan looked at the engine. Then turn it off. See what happens. The giants understood. For the first time, they were afraid. The High Matron slowly smiled. You are dangerous, she said. Small, but dangerous. She walked around Evan, her shadow circling him. You learned our systems, she said. Our lies. Our fears. Evan met her eyes. You taught me. The High Matron stopped. There are those among us who want you dead, she said. And those who want you controlled. And you? Evan asked. She smiled again. I want to see what humans become when they stop kneeling. The council argued loudly. Some demanded his execution. Others warned of system collapse. Time passed. At last, the High Matron raised her hand. Bring the records, she ordered. Large screens appeared around the hall. Data flashed. Slave counts. Work zones. Human locations. Evan's heart raced. She looked down at him. You will get what you asked for, she said slowly. But understand this. The room grew quiet. You have just declared your kind of threat. Evan nodded. We always were. The High Matron turned to the council. Prepare the release, she said. The giants gasped. But Evan did not celebrate. Because he knew something worse was coming. Freedom scares those who rule by chains. And fear makes giants dangerous. The order spread through the city like a shockwave. Human slaves were being released. Chains unlocked. Cages opened. Guards stepped back in confusion. For the first time in years, humans stood without commands. Some cried. Some did not move, afraid it was a trick. Evan watched from the council hall screens. This is happening too fast, one council member said. They will panic. They already live in panic, Evan replied calmly. The High Matron did not look away from the screens. You forced our hand, human. Yes, Evan said, because you would never move otherwise. The room was tense. Guards stood closer now, not to protect Evan, to be ready. A giant commander stepped forward. This was not the deal. His freedom was promised, not theirs. Evan turned toward her. If you break your word, your system breaks. The High Matron raised her hand again. Enough, she said. We move forward. But fear had already entered the room. Fear does not listen. One of the giants shouted, Humans will rise against us. They are weak, another said. Crush them now. Evan spoke clearly. You are wrong. The giants turned. Humans do not need to fight you, Evan said. You depend on them. Murmurs filled the hall. You build a world too complex for strength alone, Evan continued. Every system you use is human-maintained. Every repair, every adjustment. Silence. The High Matron finally turned to him. You planned this. No, Evans said. I survived this. Alarms suddenly screamed. Red lights flashed. A guard rushed in. Lower city power grid is unstable. The council erupted. Evan closed his eyes briefly. They are sabotaging, one giant shouted. No, Evan said. They are learning. The giant stared at him. You taught them? The High Matron asked. I taught them to think, Evan replied. The truth settled like ice. Humans were not breaking things. They were changing them. Carefully. Every system that once ignored safety limits now followed human logic. Machines slowed instead of exploding. Energy use dropped. Failures stopped. The city did not collapse. It adapted. That scared the giants more than rebellion. Stop the humans, a council member ordered. Evan shook his head. You cannot. Guards moved toward him. The High Matron stepped forward sharply. Stand down. They froze. She looked at Evan closely. You never wanted revenge. No, Evan said. I want a balance. She nodded slowly. And now you have it. Another alarm sounded. This time from orbit. A screen showed unknown ships approaching the planet. Foreign ships. Enemy ships. The council panicked. Our shields are weak, someone cried. Evan looked at the data. You rerouted power away from defense years ago, he said, to protect the core. The High Matron clenched her fists. Evan continued. Your enemies know this. They have been watching. The room went silent. One question filled the air. What do we do? The giants turned to Evan. Not because he was small, but because he was right. Evan straightened. Let humans help, he said. And if we refuse? The High Matron asked. Evan met her gaze. Then you lose everything. Time slowed. Finally, she spoke. Give him command access. The council gasped. A slave with command authority. Unthinkable. Evan took the control tablet offered to him. Human hands. Giant systems. He began issuing comm orders. Reroute power. Activate backups. Change logic paths. The city responded. The shields rose. The enemy ships slowed. For the first time, giant strength followed human thought. The High Matron watched silently. When it was over, she said quietly, You have changed this world. Evan looked up. No, he said. I reminded it. She nodded once. But understand this, she said. Some of us will never forgive you. Evan nodded. I know. He looked at the stars above the city. Freedom was close, but danger was closer. Because the giants had learned something terrifying. Humans were not tools. They were equals. And equals are harder to control than slaves. The enemy ships retreated. One by one, they turned away from the planet. The shields held. The city survived. Silence returned to the council hall. But this silence was different. It was respect. Evan stood at the center, holding the control tablet. Around him, the giant rulers no longer shouted. They watched. Carefully, the High Matron stepped forward. You saved our world, she said. Evan lowered the tablet and placed it on the floor. I save lives, he replied. There is a difference. She studied him for a long moment. Your freedom is granted, she said. You may leave this planet. Guards unlocked the final restraints around him. The sound of metal opening echoed loudly. Evan was free, but he did not move. There is one more thing, Evan said. The council stirred. You promised all humans would be free, he continued. Not just released. Protected. The High Matron nodded slowly. The chains are gone. What more do you want? Choice, Evan replied. No human will be forced to stay. No human will be hunted. The giants exchanged looks. Finally, she raised her hand. So be it, she said. Humans will be recognized as a free people. A message spread across the city. Human status, free species. Across factories and camps, humans stopped working. Some fell to their knees. Some looked up at the sky for the first time. Evan felt his chest tighten. Years of pain ended in a single moment. Later, he stood at the spaceport. A human-built ship waited for him. Small, old, but functional. Humans had repaired it together in secret. The High Matron followed him there. You could stay, she said. You will be powerful. Evan looked at the stars. Power is not staying, he said. Power is choosing. She nodded. You have changed how we see strength. Evan turned to her. And you have learned that size is not destiny. Before boarding, Evan activated a transmitter. A signal shot into deep space. A human signal. A warning. And a promise. We are alive. We adapt. We endure. The ship lifted off. The planet grew smaller behind him. For the first time in years, Evan slept without chains. Far below, the giants watched the sky. They had ruled by strength for generations. Now, they understood something new. Strength breaks, but will survives. Human systems remained in the city. Humans stayed by choice. Teachers, engineers, thinkers, not slaves. Balance replaced fear. And far beyond the stars, Evan's message traveled. To humans who had forgotten hope. To worlds that believed humans were weak. The message was simple. Never measure power by size. Because when pushed into cages, when reduced to nothing, humans do not disappear. They evolve. And somewhere, on a planet of giants, a truth was carved into history. Humanity was never small. It was only waiting.